Good afternoon, everybody. Let me first thank you for coming and being with us today. And let me thank Booker T for hosting us and letting us share your space to begin our work. It's good to be in Central City. It's good to be in Central City with Representative DePlessis, who represents y'all so very, very well. And it's good to be with City Council Vice President Moreno, who represents y'all so very, very well. The people spoke so loud and so clear this past Saturday. This was a referendum on how we treat our young people. As Principal Corvo just said, young people were a referendum. Young people were front and center. Young people were at the tips of everybody's tongue when they had questions about how we were going to do it different. So, Ms. Gardner, thank you for hosting us today. Ms. Booker T and Mr. Booker T, Mr. Alexander, thank you for hosting us today, and thank you for your work. You all are who we're depending on to take us these next few years. We're on the tail end. We just have a little work to do, and we're just keeping some of these seats warm for you. So just know that. The people of New Orleans have asked that we take the criminal legal system somewhere that it actually has never been. A place where it is not working at dual purposes, protecting and serving one neighborhood and over-policing and prosecuting others. They've asked that we figure out a way that the disciplinary process that happens throughout our schools is consistent, so that certain kids aren't getting the police called on them for things that can be handled through detention and other things. And we're going to work together to work those things out so that we can provide what is best for our young people. When we talk about a system, whether it's a criminal legal system, it has to work together. It has to be coordinated, and I believe that the DA's office is the architect of that system. We're going to prioritize violent crime. We're going to ensure justice for victims, and we're going to be focused on getting it right, injecting humanity into this process. As I traveled all across the city, doing a whole lot more listening than talking, I heard over and over again people asking that this system finally be fair. And people understood that by making it fair, we were going to make it safer, because people were going to be willing to participate as witnesses. People were going to come forward when they were victims. And so I am overwhelmingly and forever grateful for the trust that the people of this community have put in me to take us into a new era. I spoke to DA Cannizzaro this morning. I called him, and he is immediately appointing 3 members from his office to work with my transition team. We are both committed to a very smooth transition. We do not have a lot of time to get to work, and I'll give you some more details on that as we move forward. Later this week, I will be announcing the transition leadership team. You can expect for it to be as diverse as this beautiful city is. And these folks are going to be truly important, because we have to work very, very fast. And they're going to be working to help me be prepared to take office on January the 11th. But to also ensure that the reforms that we have promised, that we can be best positioned to realize them as quickly as humanly possible. And again, I will share more details with the leadership team about the transition leadership team later on this week. But before I move into some questions from the press, I want to tell you why I chose this location. Throughout my time as a city council member and throughout my these months on this campaign, I've tried to make it very clear that we have to always put people over politics, and we have to always listen to the city, listen to the citizens, because they're going to give us what they need. They're going to explain what the root causes of some of the things we've been playing cat and mouse games with for so long. And there's no better place. There's no better place to start this work and do this transition work than our schools in community. Because after a very, very tough race like the one we just went through, I can't imagine a better place to refocus all of our attention on the real reasons we're in this fight, which is to ensure that our families and our young people are safe and have a chance to live up to their God-given abilities, like these two young people behind me. So, Principal Corvo, thank you for allowing us into your space. Ms. Booker T, Mr. Booker T, let me thank you for inviting us into your space. And we hope, we don't have all the specifics worked out, but I hope that all of our transition meetings can be held in some of our school facilities throughout this entire city, just reminding the public about why we're doing this work and why it's so important. With that, we'll take some questions. Steve?
I think you said during the campaign that all the ADAs and prosecutors in the office would need to reapply for their jobs. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how that process is going to work and what kinds of things you're going to be looking for as they reapply and as, I guess, you maybe hire new personnel.
Yeah, so as I said a number of times on the campaign, it is going to be necessary to reapply because there's going to be a very different culture than the one that was there before. And when I talked to Larry Krasner, he reached out after Saturday night, the new DA in Philadelphia. He said it was the most difficult part of the job, is getting people to redefine what success is in that office, switching from trying to prosecute as many people as you can, give them as much time as you can, that being your success paradigm, to one that is focused on success for victims and public safety. So they've got to reapply. We have to have a sit down with a team, and it's not just a matter of saying what you want your boss to hear in a job interview, but there's going to be some hypotheticals. There's going to be some conversations about the way they've handled past cases and why, whether or not they would have done it differently if they had the autonomy to do so. I do understand that there was very little autonomy in this current administration, but we're going to need to know that the people are committed to real change if they're going to keep working in the DA's office. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Libby?
There are hundreds of backlog cases. How do you plan to tackle or prioritize them?
Well, we're absolutely going to prioritize violent crime out of that number. There's a lot of things that probably could have been screened a little differently earlier on. I hope to meet with the en banc very soon, all the judges at Criminal District Court, to have some conversations about possibly moving to a 2-docket or maybe even a 3-docket system, meaning right now court starts at 9, everybody gets a subpoena for 9 o'clock. I think it might be really important that we start trying to have morning court, afternoon court, and possibly even evening court to cut into that backlog. It's going to be a lot more work, but that is the only way we're going to be able to cut into it, because we're going to continue to grow that backlog because there are new cases and there are still no jury trials because of the social distancing protocols. So that's one way that I think we can do that. We're also going to, the rescreening process is going to help us cut through some of the low-level nonviolent offenses and try to move those out of the system as well. But we're going to work very hard to cut through that backlog.
Are there any policies you plan to institute, new policies, on day one?
Oh, there's a lot. There's too many for us to talk about today. But you'll hear more about that as we move forward. And they'll be in writing, and we'll share them, and they're going to be on a website as well, so people can grade my paper every day.
I'm curious about how you're going to handle some of the civil rights cases against the DA's office, particularly the fake subpoena case. And if I'm not sure how the process looks, but if you've been in touch with lawyers for the plaintiffs about a possible settlement, or how you're going to approach those cases.
That's a great question, Nick. I actually have had conversations with the lawyers for many of the plaintiffs over a year ago. As you know, I've been running for this office for a very long time. We've had conversations about what they might settle for if they saw real change, real written policies that were put in place to prevent atrocities like this from ever happening again. That piece of it is so much more important to the plaintiffs and the lawyers that the dollar figure may be able to be adjusted, which might save some tax dollars. So I'm actively recruiting Emily Maw, the former director of the Innocence Project, to come work in the Conviction Review Unit, and hopefully we can announce some of that information later on too.
The mayor has said that she would have backed Keva if she would have won. How was that, and established that partnership with her since you've won the election, how will you establish a partnership with the mayor?
Well, I mean, the mayor and I have a partnership now on the city council. We just passed a budget, probably during the worst financial crisis I think any city's ever seen or any city will ever see. And I say that because New Orleans is unique. We're a hospitality town. A lot of other places aren't relying on people in hospital beds, and hotel beds, and restaurants to drive up their revenue. So we got hit really hard, but we passed a budget that provided parity for the public defender's office, that created a restorative justice program, and did a host of other new things that this city has never done before. So we're already working together. Whether or not I was her pick or not, you know, like I said before, I didn't get in this thing to make friends. I got in this business to make change.
Yeah, the current DA, Mr. Cannizzaro, claimed that the additional cuts to the budget passed by the city council over and above the mayor's proposed budget might force some layoffs in the next year. Do you think that's going to be the case?
There's probably going to absolutely be some layoffs, but not because of the financial crisis. It's going to be because of people don't believe in the culture change in the office. I look at that budget every single year. I know there's a good amount of fat in it. I know we can be smarter. I think we're going to be able to save a lot of money with what we spend, with what has to go to the sheriff's office because of the number of people in jail. So there's ways. See, the system works in such a way. If we've got a 90% acceptance rate of all cases that the police make, then that's driving up the cost of the jail. One pod that holds about 40 to 50 people costs all of us, taxpayers, $2.75 million just to staff a year, right? So if we can reduce jail size by 40 people, we're talking about saving some real dollars and some real coin. I mean, $2.75 million is a whole lot more than the couple of hundred that was shaved off his bucket so that defendants can have a fair trial and have real representation, and public defendants can get paid finally for what they do.
Any last questions, Nick? Good. Olivia, anything else?
I have one more question.
Sure.
With your tax trial looming, how will you establish trust or transparency moving forward?
Well, I think the voters trust me a pretty good amount based upon this election result. But I've been as transparent as I've seen anybody be throughout a campaign. I'm going to continue to do that. As things unfold, I'm going to share it with the public. Like I said, I want them to come along for this whole ride. I think they realize that was more old school politics, and I think they overwhelmingly voted against it. Like I said before, if I could have tried this case a month ago, I would have. But because of COVID issues with the court, they've made different decisions. We're actively working to get this case dismissed because it was a selective prosecution and still is.
Any last thing, Matt? All right. Thank you all very much.
Any questions for these fine young people here? Come on, Matt, give them something.
Can you vote yet?
That's a good question. How's school been 2020? Come on up.
It's been challenging, it's been different because of the COVID stuff, but we've been getting through it, focusing, it's been straight.
What about you, Ms. Gardner?
It's been kind of hard to do AP virtually, but I mean, we have a lot of support from our classmates and teachers, so it's manageable. We're getting through it.
Good job, guys.
Thank you all.